I'm Steve Jeppy, and I'd like to welcome you to Jeppy's Entertainment Museum.
Hi, welcome to Two Guys and a Comic Book. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Todd, the comic book kid. Kevin, I got to tell you, the most amazing thing happened to me on September the 7th and 8th. I went to Baltimore Comic-Con 2013. This has been my 14th year here in Baltimore going to Comic-Con. I have thoroughly enjoyed meeting my favorite artists, my favorite writers, people who draw Batman, people who draw Superman, probably characters you've never even heard of. There's a revival of a new character called the Fox. I did an interview with an artist named Dean Haspiel who was drawing the Fox. I'm just so fired up about Comic-Con. I couldn't begin to tell you all the people that I met there, who it's been my goal in life to meet a lot of these people, to talk to them, to get them to sign pictures for me. I have signed pictures by the artist. This is by Josh Adams, who is the son of a famous comic book artist named Neil Adams. I downloaded this picture from the computer, and you can do this yourself. You can download pictures yourself, take them to Comic-Con, and the artist will actually sign them for you. This is by Josh Adams, and I am just fired up. Josh Adams actually signed this to me. If you look down in the corner, it says, "To Todd, Josh Adams." He actually signed this to me, and I was just amazed by it. I took photographs with him. It was just, I can't tell you how excited I was to meet those artists.
And Todd, how long has Josh been doing Batman here?
Josh has been doing comic book art for over 15 years.
Wow.
Batman, he has been, he does chapters of Batman, and he's not one of the regular artists, but he does do sketches, etc., and is a signed Batman on occasion. So
and you got Batman there, and then you got, is this Two-Face?
That is Harvey Dent, Two-Face, who was the district attorney in Gotham City, where Batman is located, and he was burned in a chemical accident, and it burned half of his body and affected his mind. So his mind made him, he does everything in twos. So if you look at this picture, he's got half a plaid suit and half a plain suit. He flips a coin that's X'd out on one side and it has heads on the other side. So he decides if he's going to be evil or good by flipping a coin.
That's amazing.
This is what he does.
Now
this was done by an artist named Jim Calafiore. Jim has been in the comic book business for 25, 30 years maybe. And this was actually signed directly to me down in the corner, to Todd, Jim Calafiore, 2013.
And Todd, you interviewed some of these people?
I interviewed Jim Calafiore. I also interviewed a writer named Mark Waid, who did a series called Kingdom Come, which was actually on the New York Times bestseller list as one of the best comic book stories ever written. It was 4 chapters. It was about heroes that retired. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. All these heroes have retired. This all takes place in the future. The heroes retired. They all the new young heroes took over, and they started to become corrupt. So then it was all about bringing the old heroes back to clean up the corruption from the new heroes. It's just such an amazing story, and these stories are so deep that when you read them, it's like reading a novel. It's the stories they're just amazing.
Now, I grew up watching the Fantastic Four.
There you go.
So, whose signature is on this here?
Okay, well, this one was also done by Josh Adams.
Okay.
But this is his interpretation, and it's more of a Victorian era type picture, and his interpretation of what he thinks that the Fantastic Four would have looked like in that type of setting. He's not an actual artist of the comic book per se, but this was just something that, and this is what a lot of these artists do. They're just interested, and they just run with it in their mind, and they'll say, I would like to draw a picture of Batman or Superman or the Fantastic Four. And they do that, and Josh drew this picture, and I also printed this one off on the computer. All you have to do, you can Google these artists and just go online and just put the artist's name and artwork, and a category will come up. You click onto it, and hundreds and hundreds of pictures by these artists will come up. And you can download them into your computer, print them off, take them to Comic-Con, which is precisely what I did, and get them signed by the artists. I have so many pictures in this book signed by artists that are just absolutely amazing, amazing pictures. This is what they call,
Oh, wow.
this is what they call a start. This is done in blue pencil, and it is what they use before they do the outlines in pen and ink, etc., add color to it. This is what they use to begin with. So this is called a start. I got this from an artist named Dean Haspiel, and he's doing this in tribute to an artist named Jack Kirby, who was absolutely the king of comic books back in the day. Jack Kirby created the Fantastic Four with Stan Lee. Wow. He created Thor, the Avengers, Captain America. These icons of comic books were created from the mind of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Now, this is an homage to Jack Kirby, and this is a character called Omac. And again, Omac was one of Jack Kirby's greatest inventions. Omac was the type of character who would go and was there to defeat the superheroes. He was created by an evil scientist, and this is signed by an artist named Dean Haspiel, and he goes by the name Dino. So he signed it down here in the corner, and actually put my name up here in a word balloon. It says Todd, and this is one of my, I have a place of honor for this on my wall at home. I don't just collect these, I actually hang them on the wall and look at them. And you know, people say, you know, sometimes I think you have too much time on your hands, and I'm like, I don't have enough time on my hands to go through all of what I own. I have so many sketches that I would just love to share with you all. And Kevin, I'm telling you, this is one of the most amazing days. These were the most amazing 2 days I believe I've ever had. They
Todd,
were absolutely great.
I know you got a lot more here to show us, a lot more great information about Comic-Con. The people that you saw there must have been thousands of people.
It was amazing.
At Comic-Con 2013. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with a bunch of more exciting info.
Hi, I'm Steve Jeppy, and I'd like to welcome you to Jeppy's Entertainment Museum. In 1974, I quit my job as a letter carrier at the U.S. Postal Service and opened a small comic book store in the basement of a TV repair shop. Little did I realize that from that humble beginning would grow this incredible pop culture collection you see here today. At the center of that collection is the comic character, the Brownies, Buster Brown, Mickey Mouse, the Lone Ranger, Superman, Barbie. These are just some of the characters who've made a tremendous impact on our individual childhoods while at the same time shaping our collective experience. As you wander through these halls, you will see the history of the country and our changing society reflected in those characters and the media through which they entertained us. Why are these characters so important to us? Perhaps it is their power to distract us. They've brought us relief in times of trouble, like the Great Depression and World War II. Today, they help us escape the pressure and stress of our ordinary, everyday lives. But there's more to it than that. These characters have played a large and largely unrecognized role in our education. Batman comic books helped me to learn to read when I was 5 years old. Thanks, big guy. I'd like you to take a trip with me in my time machine to discover or revisit all the wonderful characters, friends I call them, that have shaped our popular culture. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I had that when I was a kid. I do it all the time.
Welcome back to Two Guys in a Comic Book. Todd the Comic Book Kid is here.
How you doing? Hope you're ready to learn some more about comic books. I got so much to pass on to you, Kevin. I understand, pardon me, but I understand you're a comic book virgin. I'm going to change all that today. Going to change all that today.
Bring it. Now, you were talking on break about Stan Lee.
Stan Lee is my hero. And speaking of heroes, Stan Lee has a TV show, and it's called Superhumans. And he talks about people in regular life who do superhuman acts and make life better and make society better and actually fight crime and feed homeless people, and do amazingly great things.
Would these be stories like you always hear of the woman who pushed the car off of her baby? And
some of them are like that, but more of them are relate to people who actually, things like he had a gentleman on there, Kevin, who actually was underwater and held his breath for 20 minutes.
Wow.
This is absolutely superhuman.
No kidding.
You don't believe that people can actually do this, but there are actually people out there that can do this sort of thing, and Stan Lee looks all over the world for these kind of people. He finds them, he features them on his show, and we're able to see something like that on television where these superhuman people actually do superhuman feats.
Well, Todd, I know how much this stuff excites you. I think this is going to excite you even more. We're going to do our best to get an interview with Stan Lee.
No.
And I know you're going to want to do it.
No.
You know, he's hard to get to, but we're going to leverage every contact we have, and we're going to get an interview with Stan Lee.
Kevin, I don't know if there's anything else I'm going to be able to do in life that's ever going to top that. Because Stan Lee is my hero. I used to dream when I was a child that Stan Lee was my uncle. Honestly, I used to wish that Stan Lee was my uncle. And to actually sit down and be able to ask Stan Lee some questions regarding his history in the comic book business, because if you pick up a Marvel comic book nowadays, Stan Lee's name is on it. It says, presented by Stan Lee. Doesn't matter which Marvel comic book it is. Stan Lee is the quintessential person in comic books nowadays. People are going to come and go in comics, and Stan Lee is 90 years old. He's 90. And he's still going strong. They take him all over the world on a private jet. He goes different places. He does comic book conventions almost every year. And he doesn't just do Baltimore Comic-Con. He does comic book conventions all over the United States, in Canada, and Europe. This is a 90-year-old man. You want to talk about superhuman, Kevin?
Yeah.
Now that is superhuman to me.
That's really amazing.
That's
really
absolutely amazing.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about Comic-Con 2013. And when you go there, and like I said earlier, there must be thousands of people at this convention.
Literally thousands of people.
Yeah.
Literally thousands of people. Fortunately, I was smart enough, I guess you could call it, to get the VIP pass, which got me on the floor earlier before anyone else was able to get on the floor. We got in 45 minutes earlier before they actually opened the doors.
Right.
And they only sell 400 VIP passes. So it was very special to us to actually get in there, get to the artists and the writers and the people that we wanted to meet in the comic book field.
That's great, yeah.
That we actually had an opportunity to go one-on-one with them.
Before they got mobbed by everybody else.
Right, exactly. And have an actual face-to-face with them. I met an artist named Neil Adams, who was possibly one of the greatest Batman artists ever. He did Batman, he did Green Lantern, he did Green Arrow, he did all of these DC and Marvel comic book characters, and he is an icon. He is an absolute legend in the comic book field. And I actually got to meet him, talk to him. He actually signed a picture for me. And I could have gone home after that. I was almost finished after that. But there was so much to see and do. So many artists, so many writers. There was so much stuff that they were just giving away. And I had to come back on the second day to get more stuff. I actually had to take my stuff home Saturday, bring my little cart back, just so I could have room to collect more things. I have some amazing, amazing sketches, pictures, prints, things that were signed by the artists, the writers, and I mean, I have some beautiful things here, Kevin, that are just absolutely. I think you would be amazed by them.
Well, I'd like to see one of your very favorites in here, or one of your top three. But before we do that, I've got a question, being that comic virgin.
Okay.
And never been to a Comic-Con conference.
And we're going to get you there.
Oh, good. I'd love to see it, because I would imagine that all these people who are so much into comics and the stories and the writers, don't some people show up in costume?
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that.
That's a huge part of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What they call cosplay, which is costume play.
That's right.
It's a huge part of Comic-Con. And some of the costumes this year were absolutely amazing. There was a guy there dressed like one of the characters from the movie Avatar. And he was approximately 9 feet tall. He was on stilts. He was all blue. He was absolutely amazing. They had a what they called the Hulkbuster robot, who looked like Iron Man, but he was a huge robot. And they make these costumes themselves. They actually make them themselves.
I've got a few friends on a social media site that were posting about 2 months before this, and talking about, they just finished this leather sleeve.
Right.
They just got this new weapon, this space age weapon.
And actually, Kevin, they actually work on this all year.
Yeah.
They actually work on. They from the day Comic-Con ends till the day Comic-Con comes the following year. They work all year on these costumes.
They're very intricate.
This Hulkbuster costume that I saw was actually made out of formed plastic. A friend of the person in the costume, his friend owned an auto shop where they made plastic bumpers and fenders and things like that. Mm-hmm. He actually made his own forms.
Amazing.
And pressed them out in this plastic. And it was absolute
chest piece,
and it was electric and lights and fog, and it was just absolutely one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Just absolutely unbelievable.
Really exciting, really exciting. Now I want to get back to your book here and some of your favorite sketches that are in here.
Okay, one of my favorites is there's a character. Her name is Harley Quinn, and she is the Joker's girlfriend. In Batman, the Joker actually has a girlfriend. Many people don't know that, but the Joker actually has a girlfriend, and her name is Harley Quinn. And they are starting a new comic book series by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner. And they did a sketch and a picture that I downloaded from, again, the internet. And I wanted you to see that.
Oh, wow.
And just the detail, the beauty and the color, the lines of it, and the fact that they take the human form and actually make it look real, but make it look unreal, which is an absolutely amazing thing. But this is Harley Quinn by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner, and they actually signed this picture for me at Comic-Con down here at the bottom. And this is one of my favorites. This will hold a place of honor on my wall also.
Well, I can see why. I think the Joker's got good taste.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, they did a good job with her.
Absolutely.
And I'll always remember that line from Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Jessica Rabbit. Don't hate me, I'm just drawn this way.
I'm not a bad girl, I'm just drawn this way.
Love that.
Absolutely, yes.
They do really good with that.
And Harley is definitely drawn that way.
She is. Now, what about this one here?
Okay, this is also a book that's done by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti. This is called The Trailer Park of Terror. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek type horror book. You had back in the old days, you had EC Comics, which were horror books. You had Creep Show, you had Creep Magazine, etc. And these books are kind of a parody of that. Now, these are more adult-oriented than child-oriented. You wouldn't exactly go out and buy this for your 10-year-old. But if somebody that's 18 and older is into comic books, this would be an absolutely great book for them. And the artwork is the intricate artwork in here. The color is absolutely amazing. You have full-page colors, pictures, and the color is absolutely amazing in these books. But I get these books signed. This book is signed by the artist, the writer, and the editor.
Wow.
And the more people that you get to sign a book, to some collectors, I don't collect for the financial reasons, some of them do, the more people that you get to sign a book that's involved with a book, the more money you can make in the future on it.
I can imagine.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially those vintage books, right?
Oh yeah, and I have several vintage books that are signed by the artists, and I'm sorry to say that some of the artists pass away.
Sure.
And when they pass away, you can watch the price of your book go from here to here.
I believe
and
it.
it's amazing. Not that I sell any of mine. Someone said that I was a pack rat when it came to comic books, and I said, that's okay with me. I'll never get rid of any of them.
Absolutely.
They're mine until I go. So you can't take them with you, but I'm going to see if I can find a way.
So who do we have here?
This gentleman is Dennis Kitchen. Now, Dennis Kitchen, do you know anything about underground comics?
I do not.
Underground comics were popular back in the 60s and 70s during the hippie culture. And they had a lot to do with marijuana smoking, different things that they did back then. Right, it's a reflection of the times. They were very controversial, and this gentleman, Dennis Kitchen, and this is a picture of him from 1979. He was one of the quintessential and one of the best underground comic book artists of the era. He was one of the founders of comic book art.
He looks like he experienced the 60s.
He was quite a hippie. He was quite a hippie at the time. And but Dennis was actually at Comic-Con. He was there, and I got to interview him. I got to actually do an audio interview with him.
Wow.
And he answered several of my questions about the 60s and the things that they did with underground comics. He was explaining to me that drawing the comic books was the easy part. Getting the comic books published, getting them printed, just getting, because they couldn't go to the major publishers.
No.
They couldn't go to Marvel. They couldn't go to DC. They weren't having they weren't having any parts of this at all.
Right.
So what they had to do was they actually had to finagle printers into printing their comic books on a shoestring.
Yeah.
And Dennis Kitchen, as a matter of fact, was a founder of, he owns a publishing company now called Kitchen Sink Publishing. He has owned it for 35, almost 40 years now. And he's one of the, like I said, he is one of the icons in underground comics. And to meet someone with Dennis Kitchen's credentials was an absolute honor to me.
And get the interview.
And actually get the interview.
Wow.
And it was one of the crowning achievements of my comic book collection life.
Wow, that's amazing.
I have here, this is a book by a gentleman named Chris Kemple. He's new in comic books. And this is his book. This is a self-published book by Chris Kemple, and it's called Red Vengeance. This is his own character. He created this character himself. You can see up there, he signed it in gold pen for me. It says, "Thanks, Todd, Chris Kemple." And he actually, when I got the book, he actually did a sketch for me with a Sharpie. And he actually did this sketch of Red Vengeance for me. If you take a look at that, you can see it's personalized for me.
That's amazing.
And he sat there and he did this sketch in approximately 3 minutes. These guys are amazing artists.
They are.
And they will, if you are interested in collecting sketches and drawings, they will take the time to actually do a sketch for you. Now, sometimes they charge, sometimes they don't. It all depends on the detail you want in the sketch.
Todd, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to talk about next year's Comic-Con, how you might be preparing for that.
Absolutely.
So we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Great.
I've always been telling people it's funny. I think it's definitely easier, just conceptually, to do an Avengers movie than it is to do a JLA movie.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I while you're with the League, I would say I'm more with the Avengers. Although I love both. It's hard to pit the two against and have to choose.
Right.
It's like Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, because they both have the things to love about them.
Exactly.
But to me, I can just recall so many stories that happened with the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like being the fact that the Avengers are set in our world. You know, there's recognizable things like New York City,
Right.
you know, all of that. Whereas
Yeah.
you can't really relate with Metropolis. You can say maybe Metropolis is Chicago
And
or
I
New York.
completely agree
that's
with you
what I
on that
can really
aspect. I mean,
touch
if
with.
you're gonna do a movie, I would definitely lean towards doing an Avengers movie over a Justice League movie because Justice League is kind of almost like the Greek gods of myths. I mean, you have all of these major characters. They're like these godlike characters. You can't really relate to them like you could with the Avengers. These are almost like normal people that are just kind of like a super cop team.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Now, we've had a lot of good looks here on your sketches and these awesome artists, producers
great stuff
that you've got to meet. That's really cool. Now, I'd like you to talk about this book here. I'm interested in that.
Okay, and in honor of, there's an artist named Stan Sakai. He's been doing a character named Usagi Yojimbo, who is a samurai rabbit. And he's been doing this book for 30 years. So Comic-Con this year was dedicated to Stan Sakai. So they have what they call a yearbook, and they put this book out. And what they did was they took a lot of the different artists that are at Comic-Con this year, and they all did their concept of this character, Usagi Yojimbo. And if you look in here, Kevin, you can see that's the original artist concept. But if you go in here, you have another artist who has done his concept. This is an artist named Cully Hamner. And he did his concept of Usagi Yojimbo. There's another artist over here who has done his concept. And what you do is you walk around the Comic-Con and you get the artist to sign this book.
Right.
And if you get enough artists, that they have a contest, if you get enough artists to sign this book, they actually give you free prints.
Wow.
They'll give you a collection of free prints. Then you can take your free prints to the artists themselves and get those signed. It's a win-win-win-win situation for any comic book collector. But this book means so much to me. And the greatest thing about this book, when you take it around to the artists, they can actually do small sketches on it for you. And they're absolutely amazing. And these sketches take these people seconds to do. But you look, you have a sketch up here of Popeye.
That's awesome.
This guy did this sketch in like 60 seconds. It was absolutely amazing. And when you take these books, and this is the crowning achievement of this book. This is a sketch of Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai, who is being honored by Comic-Con this year. It's absolutely amazing stuff. And I mean, I can't tell you. Now, next year, Comic-Con is going to be absolutely amazing because next year, it's going to be 3 days.
Really?
It's 2 days. It's been 2 days for 14 years. The 15th Comic-Con is going to be 3 days. Am I going to be there all 3 days? What do you think, Kevin?
With the VIP pass?
You better believe I'm going to have the VIP pass.
I think I want to see this.
I think maybe we can arrange to take you with us. How
That'd
about
be
that?
awesome.
I would love to take you there. With you being a comic book virgin, you will no longer be a comic book virgin. As a matter of fact, you're no longer a comic book virgin today.
I'm
you
not.
probably learned more about comic books today than you've known maybe for your whole life.
It's
I don't know.
Absolutely true. I certainly didn't know who Stan Lee was.
Well, now you know who Stan Lee is, and if we get the opportunity to talk to Stan Lee, it's going to be. I don't know how I'm going to be able to go on after that.
And here's another one of
This is Usagi Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Some of the pictures in here are, and I keep them in plastic so I don't get them messed up. This is Usagi Yojimbo too, and these are just some of the concepts of that character, and they just take it and run with it, and they're absolutely beautiful.
These are really cool, really cool. I cannot wait to go see this next year.
It's going to be awesome.
You are definitely a subject matter expert on this. It's exciting, it's fun, it's innocent.
I can't wait to tell you something about the history.
It's great, great. Maybe on another segment.
Great.
But we are going to wrap up for the day for now. So thank you, Todd, for coming.
Thank you, Kevin.
On
I'm
Two Guys in a
looking forward
Comic
to
Book.
coming back. Two Guys in a Comic Book.
Take care.